Good evening, everybody. Welcome to our fourth session already in the series, a kind of a which is completely dedicated to artist publications and which is part of a research project that the research group Archivolt, Nico Dockx and myself conduct in collaboration with the Middelheim Museum in Antwerp and more specifically its library. The Middelheim Museum has a huge library of art books, also containing artists' books. And the museum was kind of curious about what artist publications they would have in collection. So Nico and me set out on a discovery period in which we unearthed a lot of interesting artist publications in order to have them disclosed and made available for a larger audience. The museum is also interested in how to describe artist publications, how to disclose them, how to share them with the audience. More specifically, since artist publications are not just books or magazines, not just documentation, but also creation. And because of the fact that an artist publication is also can be a work of art and is always authored by the artist, especially in a museum context, that allows for much more possibilities than just having them on the shelves of the library. And that's what this whole project is about. Part of the research project is that Nico and me invite guests in the Academy to discuss together and with the audience on artist publications. And we already focused on several aspects and perspectives like the creation, the typology, the definition, also the layout aspects, distribution aspects, publishing aspects. And today we will focus on the aspect of collecting, archiving, activating archives, disclosing collections, and what maybe also what the perfect collection of artist publications could or would look like. And therefore we invited 3 guests together with all of you who are, I think, quite interested. Otherwise you would not, on this beautiful evening, sit here. And the 3 guests actually will focus on the idea of collecting artist publications from a very specific perspective. To my left we have Johan Smets, who is a private collector, who will explain immediately what his collection is about. But he actually, in a way, embodies the private collector / maniac, as I know them so very well. Next to him is Evi Bert. She embodies the institutional collector because she's content manager of the MHKA, Museum of Contemporary Art in Antwerp. Is also involved in the Centrum voor Kunstarchieven Vlaanderen. So the whole idea of collecting, archiving, disclosing, sharing, and so on is really her cup of tea. And I also know that she's interested in art publications and more specifically artist publications. So we are very curious to see and hear how the MHKA in Antwerp deals with artist publications. And then to the right we have Sophie Nys, who's an artist who makes publications herself. Very nice ones, I should admit. And I know by experience also that a lot of artists who make publications also themselves love publications by other artists. So therefore, most of the times also have a small or maybe even a big collection of publications by other artists. So in your part, Sophie, we're interested in how collecting artist publications in a way affects your own practice of publishing. We asked the 3 guests of tonight to present themselves and their collection briefly, also by bringing some stuff. Afterwards, we will have a short conversation between ours, and then, of course, you will all be involved with questions and suggestions and remarks. And as usual, Nico will, among other things, play the role of the book DJ, actually showing and demonstrating the publications that are under discussion. Evi, yeah, okay. So, Evi, the floor is yours. So, could you start by describing the collection of the MHKA, more specifically the publications and the art publications, and then, yeah. I think you will manage. Yep.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. Thank you for the invitation, Johan. I would also like to thank the Middelheim Museum for making us part of the project. We did a similar trajectory with Johan. that's the reason also why we can talk today about the special collection and the artist publications. For this evening, hopefully we selected some artist publications that were not mentioned here before. I will start with an insert from Gordamata Clark from the artist magazine Zwei, published in 1971 in Köln. The reason why we took this insert is because Gordamata Clark is also the starting point of the MHKA collection, also not specifically the library, but one of the founding fathers, of course, of MHKA. I could have also brought other publications, like the Walls paper, which is much more famous, which exists as an artist publication, like a book, but also as an installation. Bringing the artist insert from Gordamata Clark brings us to the history of collecting within MHKA and the starting point of the library. MHKA has been collecting since the late 80s, but we also have to mention the ICC, the International Cultural Center in Antwerp, of which MHKA also manages the archive. Not only works of art in the capacity of art objects, but MHKA also researches and acquires more artistic practice and moreover artistic possibilities. Maybe that's something that we can discuss later on as well, because I don't like to talk about ephemera. In this case, what often happens when we talk about artist publications, because it's not a catalog. So this is something that we also try to consider in the approach of artist publications and these kind of books. And the museum is concerned with an attitude of openness, but also seeks to stimulate the form of polyphony. So not only an art object, but also the books as a other form of art. If we go to the starting point of the library, our former director, Floor Becks, when he started the MHKA, he received like lots of materials from museums, artists, galleries, because we didn't have a library yet. So the secretary started the library in 1993 because she collected everything that the director received from artists, and that's the starting point of the library. To our opinion, a Museum of Contemporary Art should be viewed as a machine for the future, and MHKA wants to offer not only art as a source of knowledge and insight, but wants to be like the gateway to a multipolar world. MHKA uses the post-war avant-garde in this region as a reference, with the concepts of image, action, and society as constant guidelines. What's more, the museum thinks about what art is today by reflecting on it, by making exhibitions about lesser known or even misunderstood genres in contemporary art, by collecting and researching them. With the above mission as the starting point for the collection and acquisition policy, and through small purchases, donations, and exchange agreements, various collections with great added value have been brought together. I think the library collection now is a number of 40,000 books, with a great amount of like almost 15% of artist books. We also collect more objects, books, all kinds of materials, I would say, from in the ensemble thinking. So when we approach an artist or we collaborate with an artist, for MHKA, it's about a long-term engagement, and we like to overview like the artist practice as a whole, and not only have a look at more museum works. Or so I have another example with us. When, for instance, when we organize an exhibition, let's say about an actor within the visual poetry or poesia visiva section, like Paul de Vree or Alain Arias-Misson, we try not only to buy the artwork, but also the more democratic and other artistic outcomes. That's why in this case I brought the Mec magazine with me, #1, with an insert from Julien Blaine and Robert Filliou, amongst others. And #2 also with insert of Henri Chopin, Jochen Goetz and Bertini. They are from 96, 1972. We bought them much later when we had the occasion of buying them. So if it goes to visual poetry, we didn't have the tension to buy this within the collection policy and everything at the time. We had a focus on that, and on that moment we started buying or filling some gaps that we didn't have in the library. MHKA has continued to build on this with a focus on everything that happens in addition to the standardized image of the oeuvre and the works of art. In a particular, with a strong focus on artist books, artist catalogs, artist inserts, magazines, artist novels, books as a carrier of images, the book or magazine as an object with objects or of art, and as a novel. Since 2012, MHKA has also taken steps towards further broadening with the start of a collection on art writing. In collaboration with the curators David Marotto and Joanna Zielinska, the project The Book Lovers has started, which systematically investigates the phenomenon of the artist novella. Today we have a collection of more than 600 titles that has been brought together. There's also a special part in the reading room downstairs in the MHKA, where all of these books are on display and where they can be read. Some books have a special form, like some books are on a USB stick, and we are still researching or exploring the way that we can also open up these special forms of books. The first book is the book of Karen Chitter. It's A to Z Life Coaching, and it's a guide for your life. It has different terms in it, and it's an approach from the artist where she writes on different categories within life and that you can read. The next one. Then I also have a dictée from Teresa Hakyonka, which is more an autobiography. And it's also, yeah, it's sometimes difficult to call it a novel. In this case, it's a little bit more a novel than the other one of Karen Chitter. So, in collaboration with David and Joanna, some books disappear from the list, some others come by as they keep on researching, and sometimes they narrow the definition of an artist novel a little bit. So they keep on working it. They do a lot of exhibitions with these books, and not only with these books, they also try to combine it with the artwork. Sometimes it's a performance, sometimes it's an installation, and these books, sometimes they cannot exist on their own. They have to be within the installation or within the performance. I brought another book, which is of Casper Andreassen. I have to thank Johan for this one, but because Johan pointed out to Casper that Mika is interested in these art books, then with Casper we decided to buy at once all of his books, but I only brought one today. And this is also an example of this ensemble working that we really like to work with, that we buy the whole collection. It's not always possible, but we try to do it as much as possible. This is Make a Point from Casper Andreassen from, I don't know the year, 2005, I think. Within the library and the acquisition, I have to say that we don't have that much of a budget. A lot of catalogs are come to us as a donation. We get a lot of mail, I would say. There's some rich museums left in the world, like in Germany, like in China, Japan. And they keep sending catalogs. So within the small budget that we have, it's still possible to collect a little bit. Acquiring books is not that easy, as we have like a budget of 8,000 euro, which is not that much. We have to be very selective in what we do, and try to see and collaborate also with artists on how we deal with this. We try to follow up on what is happening, and to be able to also support the artists, but it's not easy with this small budget. As for the artist novels, we do have a separate budget of 3,000 euro a year. And they recently extended the collection also, not the same collection, but we also working now on curators' novels. So novels written by curators. So it's another new collection. Mika also has like inter artworks. Until now, we didn't have like an English term for this. I invented it myself today. We call it tussenwerken, but because we have to do it in English, so I invented a new name today. It's not always an artist book, but artists often bring smaller artistic expressions to the museum or into society that are nevertheless fully artistic and that sometimes cannot be formally catalogued. This mainly concerns like multiples editions, small editions, items edited by artists, of which I have an example, interventions by artists in magazines, printed matter, props, etc. Often these are items that you cannot acquire. Sometimes we receive something by an artist or in another situation. But these items often provide like a surprising perspective. They form a beautiful, playful addition to the core reference. They provide insight into an oeuvre, and they often bring the image closer to how an artist approaches his art practice. All of these outcomes are being described, cataloged, and deployed, and will be made accessible. This is the tricky part, of course. This ensemble of inter-artworks are being managed as classical artworks. They are registered in the object catalog. With a specific artistic, bibliographical, and archival status. We have this axial collection system today in the museum. It's the follow-up of Adlib. I don't know if Middelheim will have the same. And we kind of are also researching if, like, an artist publication, which is also part of the project here, should be described within the library catalog, within the museum catalog or the artwork catalog, or even within the archival catalog, but it's something to discuss on later. I have here Ageiropetaya by Jan Hendriksen, which seems like a catalog. It's inventorized as an inter-artwork because Jan made a collage in the book. It's like a dédicace more to our director, but it refers to his artistic practice a lot. So it's not for this book that we invented this category. We have also like drawings and everything that napkins drawn by artists that is in this category, but it's something that we have to keep on reflecting on. We also collect like vinyl records, and I have another book that I have also with me is like our cooking section book. This is one of Dorothy Janoni that we have. It's a facsimile of a cookbook that she wrote herself. We started to collecting also like by coincidence many cookbooks, cooking books by artists, and Dorothy Janoni is one of them. I brought with this one because we will also use it in the end of the year when we have like a larger exhibition on Dorothy Janoni. It's also something that we try to combine with the MHKA if we make like new recipes or to have like this connection with what we have in the galleries also a little bit. So before we had, my colleagues have to help me, the pop-up restaurant in MHKA, and they were really into it, how they could work with recipes from artists. So it's also another approach that we try to activate a little bit more what we have in the collection. I'll stop here. I didn't tell half of what I wanted to tell, but yeah, there's time for discussion.
Sure. One question before we go to the next speaker, which is Johan. My question was, but you partly answered already, the budget for buying artist publications is library budget and not museum collection budget. Why is it so? Because, it could be otherwise as well. And maybe expand your budget also.
Yeah, the budget for acquiring artworks is not that simple because we have like a budget that comes from the Flemish government, and we also have partly a city collection budget, where the deal is, I think, that we don't buy books. Yeah, it could be, but we didn't use it in that way until now. It's very much in the tradition of a classical artwork that is bought with these. We used to have like a smaller budget as well to buy multiples and editions, and sometimes it happens that we also buy books with this budget. It's a budget of €5,000 a year, which is also not a lot. So we try to be creative with the budget. If we bought the paper walls of Gordon Matta Clark, it was like €3,000. So it's a specific choice that we make. With an impact on the rest of the year, I would say. So it does happen that when we buy a classical artwork that we get the books for free, or in a way that it's a negotiation or donations by artists. That also happens a lot.
One final question, because in the end we can come back for a conversation, of course. Apart from the acquiring policy of the museum, what is the exhibition policy of the museum concerning publications? Because as we all know, it's not easy to exhibit books and magazines, especially the historical ones. Is there a kind of curatorial policy in the museum about exhibiting publications?
Not directly. There is, for the artist novels, a specific, we buy 2 books of each. Yeah, we buy 2 copies of each book, and one goes into the library and one goes to a box for exhibitions. So it's a touring copy that we buy if possible, because there's also artist novels that are not €25 but 2,500. So in that, some of them we have in 1 copy, not in 2. So we have to divide it a little bit.
Thank you very much, Evi. We move on to Johan Smets, who's a private collector, which has opportunities and limitations as well, I suppose. The floor is yours, Johan.
Thank you very much, Johan and Nico, for your invitation. My English is not so good, so don't shoot the pianist. Okay, to say it with, or to put it with a wit, what is a private collector? A collector is a failed artist, like a reader is a failed novelist, and like a judge is a failed lawyer. The last thing is quite true, but a collector, what is a collector? He should be an art lover, of course. He makes a step further than a normal art lover. And why collecting? Why did I start collecting? So, why did I? So, why did I start?
Maar dan hebben we het niet op de film, denk ik.
Okay, sorry. So I started collecting with a close interest. I started, first of all, reading a lot about art. So artist monographs, etc. And from that point on, I became very interested in some artists, some international artists, etc. I couldn't buy those works, but it started at that moment. It started in that way. So the next step was, well, why shouldn't I buy something? I like it, and I started to buy some things from young artists. Why? It is affordable, most of all, and there are a lot of very interesting young artists. So that was the way I started. Another point, I liked also, but listen wrong. The works I buy only when I know the whole practice of the artist. So I will never buy something from a young artist without knowing or without visiting his atelier to see other works, etc. It can be sometimes one work can be a lucky one, but I have to see all the practice, and then I can choose. So first of all, young artists. For more established artists, are the possibilities to require some things less because of the prices that are mainly very, very high. So I started to collect publications, editions, etc., who are more affordable for one person. I hear the musea in Belgium have the same problem, but on another level. So I only buy publications and editions from artists that are closely involved to make those editions. You know, there are a lot of artists, international artists, that make something, yeah, for the public, but are not very involved in the practice of editing. So that also, I find it very important. The editions have to be a key place. Have to have a key place in their whole work, in their whole practice. Secondly, I'm also interested in literature and all things that, that texts. I like texts. I read a lot, and it is important. Texts are important. Why? For me personally, I have a lot to do with texts. I am a lawyer from profession, so I have to do with text. I have to study. I have to see what is in the text or what is not in the text. What is the relation between the text I read or I can read and real things that have passed, and images? That is not so easy to see directly. The links are not the links are not always evident. So my interest in art and my interest in texts, I don't think it is a surprise that we come on Marcel Broodhaars. And through the time, that has become the core of the heart of my collection. Why? Yes, the fascination for images and texts by Broodhaars. He investigates the relation between the two. He had made a lot of publications, articles, writings, editions, etc. I read, or I can say that the title of one of the first publications from Broodhaars, from Borgmeister, das heißt, the title is Lesen und Sehen. So reading and seeing. The relation between those two is, let's say, the heart of the work of Broodhaars, and that's what I like. Broodhaars self has, I said it, qu'est-ce que, now in French, qu'est-ce que la peinture? Eh bien, c'est la littérature. Et qu'est-ce que c'est la littérature? Eh bien, c'est la peinture. He says that because there is he sees also a very close relation between the texts and images. One can ask oneself, what was the first? Was the first an image? Or is first a text? Can we read an image without words? So that also is a close relation between a text and an image. The third thing I want to say is, for me, I collect some editions, also books of Broodhaars, his publications. I try to find every publication he ever made, so interviews, etc. The first in 1945. and so on. Dus all things he was interviewed or texts he wrote himself, etc. It's very important, I think, because you see not only what he says, but also the context. The papers he published in the magazines, etc. That is all. I find it important because you know the context where he lived in. I have here one example of one of, I think, the first publication he made in a certain. He made in a small paper that came that was published immediately after the Second World War. He published in a publication Le Salut Public. What is Le Salut Public? I don't know if you know. Le Comité du Salut Public was the most cruel committee in the French Revolution. Not only cruel, but also radical. So when you take part of a magazine that after the Second World War, which name is Comité Le Salut Public, yes, you know that he is engaged at a radical manner in politics. He has been part of the Communist Party, so that you learn by collecting those things. Waar zit ik aan? Ah ja, I can give some. I can give some examples on the way how I collect. That's a publication, an edition of Broodhaars, Le Jardin d'Hiver. He made it after a show he made. De prenten. He made it after a show. Yes, you see it here with a lot of palms and with prints on the walls, large black and white prints. So the publication came after had the same name, Le Jardin d'Hiver. No, I was looking for what is the link between those two? In the edition, you see the two parrots. Wilt je die eens laten zien? You see the parrots. The parrots come out of a large work of Buffon. You know Buffon? Buffon was an 18th century naturalist. He published a lot about nature, etc. All the animals he tried to put in his works. That two parrots came out of a publication of Buffon in 1852. So he was that. There were a lot of editions from Buffon, smaller, larger. I think there are in total 300 editions of his work, starting in the 18th century and finishing in the 1st century. So I found the book, the prints came out. That is one, I think, number 8 of 12 books, of a collection of his books, where you find the same parrots. Yeah, those two beneath, and the other ones. Yeah, that above, those two above. So that are literally, he took from that book, he took the images and put it in the edition. Another thing, the original show of Jardin l'Hiver, he used, you saw that, he used some prints here, you see them? He used some prints, and okay, what is that? What were that prints? Where did he take them? Even Marie Puck thought that he found them as prints, and he enlarged it. But I discovered that they came out of another book, a book published in England by Goldsmith. Goldsmith, you see, they are also the prints. Goldsmith was an Englishman who thought, oh, in France they have the Buffon. In England there is no naturalist work. So I gonna publish a naturalist work for England after Buffon, also 18th century. And what did he? He copied for 90% the books of Buffon. So it is for 90% the same texts you find in Buffon, but it came after Buffon. It was published also in the 19th century. It is a publication of the 19th century. Before there were others. That's from the year 1961 or 62. What? 1861 or 62. So he used a copy. He used a work that is copied from Buffon. He used it in his original show, and the work of Buffon, that is the original, he used it for the edition. That is something different. That is the one original for the edition, and the copy for the original show. Also, one thing, Darwin published his work in 1859. Yeah, 1859. It's totally different on the origin of species. It gave us a totally other view on what nature is, the struggle of the fittest, and so on. So these editions are already, at the time of their publication, not quite science anymore. There were science in the 18th century, but not now. So it was at the time of the publication already sort of, I would say, a romantic, has become a romantic idea. And here we are in the key, in the core of Vlotars, who was a romantic. So that's the way I collect not only the works or the books, but also everything that surrounds them. And so you learn a lot about it. Another example is C'était comme une semaine de bonté. It's also an edition from Vlotars, but the edition, I couldn't find it. It has been for the last time on auction more than 30 years ago. So it's very difficult to find. But what have I to do? So when I can't acquire a work, I build a sort of nest around it. A nest, you know, a professional bird watcher can see from a kilometer. This is the nest of a let's say, a Siberian Polyphenario or something else. So, but you can laugh, but when you have the nest, you know what bird is in it, and you understand more the bird that is in it. And I mean by that, the original work that Broodars made. So, what did I do? I collected everything I found that was around, that was at the base of the publication of C'était comme une semaine de bonté. You see at the right, you see the what did he take as starting point? Well, he took the work of Max Ernst. Max Ernst made a publication in 32 or 3, Une semaine de bonté. It were 5 booklets, and were very beautiful, and they are all dingen. They're all collages from publications in the 19th century, publications in popular magazines, very popular magazines, where are feuilletons. Do you want to say that in English? Series, yeah, a sort of series, feuilleton, that were published in that magazines every week, and afterwards they made a book of it. In the book were the prints, and so Max Ernst used those prints to make collages of it. Here you see, yes, you don't see it exactly, but there were, yeah, you see here the snake. He put the snake, here he put smoke, also other things. That's the way he worked. So what is the relation with the work of Broodars? Broodars made the work, C'était comme une semaine de bonté. It was as if it was a semaine de bonté, a week of happiness. And he took, wil je die andere? Ja, die kunt je opnemen. What did Broodars do? He made so work voor een andere boek van de editie zit je ervoor aan de achterkant. So he put two of that prints from Ernst at the before and at the back side, and inside you see. One moment. We mogen dat van Stern. Alsjeblieft. Ah ja. That's also the work of that you find in the map he made. That picture. What is that? Everybody thought it was Max Ernst in bed with a beautiful girl, a snake, and a tiger skin. Very, very romantic, very everything. And you see. Nee, de dingen, de echte. Uit het werk zelf. Ja, kunt je dat niet wat vergroten? So, you see, in his work, you see only what could be a snake. You see palms, you see a tiger. That is what he presented. So it was like a romantic idea in the like. At the end of the 19th century, with palm trees and snakes and all that. Yes, very exotic. But when you see what he used, here it is in the Stern. is a publicity for a clock, an electric clock. So the lady has to disappear at time. The snake is not a snake, but is an electric file for the clock. What did Brotaars do? So he made also a college, but not in that way that he put other things above others. No, he took a scissor and he made also he changed the image, not by putting things on it, but by cutting away some other things. So he did the same as Max Ernst, but in another way. And so you know what the title is. C'était comme une semaine de bonté. He has tried to do the same thing as Ernst, but in another way, in a modern way. You have also to know then that the third point, another college, is the publication. The picture came out. The publication was the Stern. Stern was also a very popular magazine in Germany. Something like the magazines at the end of the 19th century, but more, let's say, more pulp, a more pulp publication. So he did also the same as Max Ernst. He took a print, an image of a popular publication. And another college he made is, you can find in the name Stern. Stern, the name of the publication, is an anagram from Ernst. Dus that is also a kind of image. So you can find it only when you, or you can learn, or you can know only these things when you found the things he has based his work on. There are other publications, or there are other ways of investigate the work of Brotaars, but there are more philosophical, more professional. But I think in the work itself and in the things he used, you can also learn a lot of Brotaars. So I thank you very much for your attention.
Johan, thank you for explaining. So as I see it, for each book of Brotaars you have 10, 20, 30 other sources to make a nest around it. Is that the right way to describe your collection?
I would like to have 30, 40.
Or more than one.
More than one, yeah.
So that's the whole idea. So if you one publication of Brotaars and then you start building around it.
Give you an understanding about things. I have also found the publication that Max Ernst took his prints.
You can go way back then.
You can go way back down.
Where does it end? Huh? Yeah.
In heaven.
Never. Yeah. Okay. I can understand, before we go to Sophie, I can understand that you can only be as maniac as this by selecting one artist, Brotaars. It's almost impossible to do it with several artists, or do you have more like those? It's just Brotaars.
Just Brotaars, because I said he is the one, for me, is the most, or one of the most important artists of the second half of the 20th century, and that's the reason why I collect him.
And also rich in references, Brotaars, of course. Yeah,
references. And
like a minimalist wouldn't work that well.
Oh no. And there are I say my interest in images and my interest in text. I like it very much, and the relation between both.
You just said that you try to collect all Brotaars' books, publications, editions. How much % of his total output do you already have acquired? How much still to go, more or less, statistically?
That depends on my income.
Yeah, but how much do you still actually have to acquire?
Well, I've give you years ago a list of publications, but they are not the list I gave are not the editions as said, the limited editions, but are the magazines and the publications he published in. I didn't know, but seemingly I have a lot, and I didn't know it myself, but I had the honor to have at home two PhD students, one of Berlin and another of Vienna, and one of them was making her PhD about the journalistic work of Brothers. And she was at home. I learned her I learned to know in the MUCA with the show of Brothers. And she went at home and she saw my collection of publications and she said, I never saw someone that has so much. So she has been in the States and at MoMA, etc. But I didn't know. Dus I am a. I will. I like to when I see something which I don't have. Yes, that I have to have it. Even and I mean it. Even as even when I would eat lesser or scrap my son is laughing. Yeah, I have to let other things, buying a new car or something else. So
it's a disease, we know. Yeah. Okay. Last but not least, we have Sophie Nys. She brought publications as well. We're interested in to see how you practice artist publications yourself and what your own private collection has to do with that.
Okay, there was a little misunderstanding. I thought I would handling my books or the books myself, so they're there. I hope I will stay seated. The other misunderstanding is that I brought also books from my bookshelves, but maybe no, yeah. So I thought that I would introduce myself here with some books. Therefore, they were in front of my feet before, but now they're there in the hands of Nico. Yeah. Thank you for the invitation. Voila, let's just start. There is no order. No, there is an order. Not too fast. I mean, there's. I didn't. Yeah, I didn't practice the order. This book I thought to start with then, obviously, Laurens Wiener, as you can see yourself. It's the wall of the library of the Middelheim Museum, where I was invited to also do some kind of research by Julie Peters. She had the idea to also do something with the library and invite artists. And it's one of these nice invitations. You receive an email, hello, would you like to make a book? There's a budget. And then, of course, you say yes. And you can, like, you know, visit the library, go through the books. So that's what I did. What I thought, maybe you can put it next to each other now. There is the book I then made with Julie. I thought that she inspired the size of this series on the book of Laurens Wiener. Maybe you put it back. But it wasn't. But the funny thing is that I had this book. I bought it a long time ago in the Middelheim, but for really no money. I never spent a lot of money to books. I'm the one who always goes in the sales box because I don't have the means to buy expensive books. and what I really liked afterwards, that the small window, I know what it is. It's actually the toilet of the library. So, and I'm sure you guys know it also, because the artist books are, you have to pass the toilet, and there are the iron. Voila. So I thought this was a nice introduction, the connection with the Middelheim. So then there is the book I made. You can flip through it. I don't think we have the time. I'm not going to go into the bookmaking itself too much, because it's going to last too long. So, but I can briefly say something about it. The first book of the series were actually all facsimile from the library. And I thought it was a heavy kind of task to be the second one. And I'm not so fond of facsimile images in books. So pictures of books in books, I think it always works. So it's kind of, it's too seductive to me and easy. So I had to find another solution for this. The pictures you see of the black and white pictures are studio images from Epstein. It's a sculptor who was one of the beginning. So I started with A, so I went through all the books and, as a nut. And but then the news was there. Trump had the first political, international visit by Theresa May, yeah. And he started to talk about the sculpture. You see, the bust of Churchill, and it was such a crazy conversation. It was very awkward moment, handshaking, and Trump was talking about the original Churchill buste. And of course, maybe you know, being in the art context here, a bronze is never an original. It's always a casted object. So it's a whole political thing, because Obama, he set away the Churchill sculpture, and Martin Luther King, if I'm not wrong, was there during his term. Voila. So I decided to introduce what was going on in my life, our life at that very moment, in relation with the collection of the library, which was very male and sculpture, and it's a very specific collection, obviously, because it's about sculpture, and I guess it started in the 50s or 60s. So voila, this was my answer to this question. The next book you see, it's one of my first artist books. Maybe you keep it close for a moment. Because there is text on the front cover, and it's actually, I see it as a title, but it's also an introduction about the content, because now you can open it and show also the back cover. You can just fold it. Yeah, oh, there's a sticker. It won a prize, yeah. Unfortunately, this prize doesn't exist anymore in Belgium. This is maybe the moment, or maybe someone... I think we need a book prize again in Belgium. But the inside is actually 80 pages, and it corresponds with a slide carousel. It's a work of mine about pillories. So I started a series. Actually, if there was no electricity, my slide projection was still visible through the print of the book. So I have another one. It's also a series of a full carousel. And the idea is, so inside there are every single slide is represented, same order, and the outside, the cover, carries all the information about the work. So that's the idea. I think, the book is a bit like cinema, you know. every second 24 images. I mean, yeah. There is a book I like a lot. It's actually Martin Kippenberger, together with Dideriksen, apparently. But I show it because it's a square book, and I think the square is a very difficult format for books. I think for a vinyl LP, it works really well, but square is difficult. Although the Lawrence Wiener is also the square. So I had the work. I made, it was a wall piece, and it was with all drawings. You can show the second, the book who is under it. Nico, thank you. It's called Brother, Brother, Brother. It's about the plague, and it's actually the beginning of a classical way to write a letter from the Romans. It's a Roman style, and Petrarca also took this style to start a letter to his friends or surroundings about the horrors during the plague. Everybody was dying around him. And this book I made in the context of an exhibition I made with the plague as a main role. And these images come from a manuscript, a backdrop of an image related with the plague. So it's all faces that they are not laughing, they're not sad. So it's vroom. I don't know this word in English. Vroom. What? Pious, yeah, I guess so, yeah. So it's about a certain attitude or facial expression. So I took the size of that book because I needed a square, because all the paintings, drawings, they were squares. So, but then last night I found this book, and it's also the same size, so maybe she also took that. You see how much was it? The price is still there. Yeah, well, yeah, Karen Sitter, my neighbor, also brought a book of hers. I think she's a great bookmaker, very funny and witty and smart. But voila, we can go to the next book. This is a book by a psychiatrist. It's called Knots, and it's really the texts are real, like conversations he had with his patients. We took it as also a starting point for a book I made together with Line Aerts, Maud Gourdon, and Leila Peacock. It carries the title Family Nexus, and it was connected with an exhibition I did in Kiosk in Ghent. Because I'm actually not so motivated to make exhibition catalogs or a monogram or something. I really like to, if there is a budget, to kind of make a postscriptum or a footnote or something that is really also activated or can be activated as part of the exhibition, and which can be as autonomous as possible. In this publication, I invited Leila to write sentences. Maybe Nico feels like reading a sentence upside down. Okay, next time. But they are inspired on the harshness of like mediation between couples who are really in big time trouble. Yeah. So and through the book, you just wander actually through the exhibition with the pictures made by someone. Voila. So this is actually, I think, my most exhibition representing book I made. This is a a book I could make in the context of an exhibition I did in Krak-Alsace. It's near the border of Switzerland in France. Yeah. So the outside you see abstract forms, and when you open it, you see on your, wait, not too fast, Nico. This is a recipe, a waffle recipe in German I found in the library in Zurich, and it's about waffles made in Mulhouse in a very old cooking book from the 18th century, 19th, sorry. So this is some kind of a key you get, and then it says "To Love." The book doesn't have a title, but it's homage to love, and inside you see the inside of waffeleisen. Wacht, ja, waffeleisen. How do you say it? Waffle? These things, I guess. Yeah. Well, yeah. And when I did this exhibition, I was traveling in the region a lot, and I met people from local museums, and I met the conservator of the Musée Historique in Mulhouse, and we went through the whole building until the attic, and there was in the corner a rack with all these objects. They have actually a really long arms because you have to put it in the oven. And he was showing them and telling me the story that when a local couple was about to marry, and they had they're from noble families or families with a heraldic sign, they made especially for the wedding waffle iron. And we can wait until we see one. This is ornamental. This is also just ornamental. This one, for example. So you have on the one side the man's family, and on the other side the woman's with their name. And when he showed me this, I immediately made the connection like book, because I thought it was so, yeah, it's a romantic to, you know, put these two people together, and then, you know, together you eat these waffles during this important day. But as in books, pages, they're also doomed to live together every page. I mean, you cannot turn them, so they're forever there together. So I thought that would be nice maybe to make a book out of this. So we photographed all the objects over there. So I think it's the first, yeah, this is important in the back. As you see, it's all black and white. The budget of the book was pushed because of this color image I wanted to have. As you see, it's Prince Albert and Charlene, thanks. It's maybe a nice connotation with the Sterren story. But Albert, he has 5 titles or 5 positions, and one is that he is a baron from Altkirch, where the exhibition was. So the Krak-Alsace is in Altkirch. So if he would have been married in those times before the Industrial Revolution, because the tradition faded away when industry came and they made other kind of waffeleisens, so they would have had a thing. So for me that was important. Yeah, this is just, if you open the book, it's one of these books I like encountering them. You can really flip through them loosely. It's not so important, but it's just the aesthetics of reproduction of historical objects. Well, wait, more in the back, maybe. Ah, voilà, there we go. So yeah, you can, of course, recognize or understand that I like this kind of books. Voilà. Yeah, maybe first the Sophie, it's still in the package, I'm sorry. Maybe you know this series from Black Pages. It's 3 artists from Vienna who decided to invite an artist, and you receive, you have the chance to fill 16 pages, and it's actually one basic printing sheet, and you fold it, and then you have the A5 size, and you could, of course, the borders, and then you have 16 sizes, and it's a very economical way of printing. The cover, you cannot say anything about it. It's always just your name, and it's very cheap. It's like €1 or €2, and they started it with 1 until 100, and then they said, this was a concept. When we printed the 100s, it's over, the project. So when they invited me, I was a bit puzzled. A publication with my name on, I mean, what would be the content, what is inside? And at that moment, I realized I had 16 publications. So I thought, okay, let's make my own catalog about my artist books. So here you can have a little overview, and some of the things we will see. This is the other, the Bertelli. It's the Profilo Continuo. Sorry, I found the right angle of the microphone. Very loud. Yeah, it's the other slides series I talked about. It's the head of Mussolini. And it's like a never ending, and it was in relation with the slide projector. Voilà. So then later on they invited me, the Black Pages people, to talk about my artist books. And then by then I had 4 more. So I printed an insert with the same mise en page, layout. So that was kind of a funny, I didn't bring that. Later I found this little book of Ronnie Horn somewhere, and it's also a similar thing. It's a catalog of her books at that moment. It's not really an artist book, but yeah, in this context, a nice reference. You can continue with the stack. Thank you. This is, I think, one of, I get really excited about this idea and proposal. It's Maria Castillo de Bal. She has, this is volume 2, there is volume 1. She had the amazing idea to make a book out of covers. So she invited people to make a cover of a book. So you can invent a cover of a book which doesn't exist. So if you open it, so it looks like a book, but if you open it, it's only covers. So yeah, I think it's great. I don't have so much more to say about it because it's a very nice idea, and somewhere there is my cover. But here it is already. So I was in the plague mood still, and it's a book about disinfectant, the antiseptica. Because during the plague, in the beginning, the people thought it was the thorn of God, but slowly they understood it's about passing on, and we have to clean our hands, etc. Well, unfortunately, it's hard to get, but otherwise I would, everybody. This is yeah, you can open it. It's a menu. The Taverne du Passage in Brussels, I was sometimes spending time there, and I was always so pleased by the looks. It's very simple, but it was so powerful. It's just black on white and red, and very strange. It has 4 stables. And so always I thought, wow, this is so great, this is so great. And then I was working on a film, and it also has this plastic folder. Nowadays the restaurant changed. It's still, I mean, it's open every day of the year in Brussels. De Koninginnengalerij, Passage de whatever. Yeah, dank u. But the menu isn't. It's different. Everything is different. Everything is changing. But voila. Then I was working on a film in Rio de Janeiro, and it was a travel in the largest public park of South America. And I went there first to prepare. It was quite a task to manage. It was almost 1 hour, one shot with the camera. And I asked Arto Lindsay to make the music for this film. So I made the score for him. And the score, you can open it. The score is actually a list of all the plants that Burle Marx used in the park, and it's all the Latin names. So actually, before the film was made, I printed this publication actually for Arto, so he could use this as inspiration and lyrics for the music. So it's like offering the menu for him, but it looks also as a score, in my opinion, music score. Voila. And this is also I got really excited by this. It's such a smart solution. It's actually 2 times the same, so you can put it next to each other, Nico, if you like. Thank you. So Generali Foundation in Vienna, they had a series of catalogs, so it's of course not always fun when design or layout is imposed, but you can also understand it, like the Secession in Vienna also. Sorry, I have no special relationship with Vienna, but oops. Heimut Zobernich, he also made a lot of artist publications, and he is really fond of A4 and Helvetica, so this is his thing. So of course he wasn't very happy with what was offered, so what he did, and you can, Nico, this is a task, it's a simultaneous no. It's what he did is very simple actually. So the book was printed, the catalog, like Generali Foundation asked for, but he made inside the design that when you cut it to A4, everything was still visible. But of course, some pictures are cut, but it's not important. I mean, you see the best with photographs. So I think that's amazing. There's always a solution, and I guess he's happy. And I was happy to discover this when I was in the Generali Foundation, because I knew that there was a Heimut Zobernich publication, and then they come up and were like in their boxes, and like I said, okay, there's 2. So voila, I bought both. Yeah. So it's no time. Yeah, I don't think there is time to race through. No, but maybe
maybe just one.
Maybe one stack. Yeah, because one stack. This one. Yeah. Quickly. This actually is a student work. I think it's my first kind of creative approach towards publication. We had to make a book design and I came up with this. So you can open it, Nico, and it's actually two covers, yeah, or dust covers. So it's Ines van Lamsweerde, who was by then in the 90s. It was the beginning of technology and Photoshop, and she was very famous because of this. So I decided to make two kind of skin colored dust covers. Voila. So it's oops, there it stops. It's just a dummy. So this is a very old thing. Yeah.
Maybe just one other title, then, because then we have time to have a discussion. Okay for you?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
No, the second one you can do. I think this is maybe the book that kind of formed me. It was a present by someone. I was still a student, and he said, "Here, you should keep it. It's gonna become very valuable." And it's thin, and voila. Since then, I have a weak spot for thin, cheap books that become maybe expensive. Voila. Thank you for your attention. Voila. Yeah.
Thank you, Sophie. When I listen to you, I see in your practice, a lot of references to the way Marcel Broodhaars works, with the very playful references to other artists or other forms or other objects. Do you feel like, in a way, connected with Broodhaars' practice, or is it totally like a planet?
I heard from a foreign visitor that all the artists in Belgium are doomed to be influenced by Marcel Broodhaars. So, I'm not
hard to escape. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. My second question would be: you say I don't have the budget to buy expensive artist books, but I do buy them when I find them, looking in boxes and so on. Is then this serendipity, this chance, important for your collection? And like, let's now focus a bit on your collection. Is it then only built up by chance, or do you really sometimes go for searching a specific title that in a way would make sense in your working collection?
No. If you look for something, you're looking for something. I mean, wie zoekt, die zoekt. And I think, and I don't really believe in chance also. I mean, it's just like strolling on the flea market.
And books will find their way to you when they need to. Yeah.
It's also a matter of time. I mean, when I was younger, I had more time and less money. No.
Okay, you published quite a few artist books yourself. So, do you know about collectors that are really like into collecting all your stuff, like Johan does with Broodhaars, for instance? And can you say something about that? To be a collected artist bookmaker?
Yeah, I know a few, and I always give my books away. I mean, my books are really cheap. I think it's such a nice object to distribute your work. I really take it seriously. I have, I think now, 37 titles. I have a website. It's called nothankyou.be. It should be pronounced like no thank you, but it doesn't read like that. So it's not updated, but most of the titles are there. Some people, serious collectors, they're rare collectors who are really into printed matter. Some. And I'm happy to send what I have still, because if someone now would like to have everything, it's too late already. Yeah, because the print runs are often really low, and maybe my latest book is there. It's brown and long. Yeah. You can get it almost for free as you like at the Greta Meert gallery at the moment, where I have a show, and the publication is a really important part of the show. Voila, 250 copies. So it's also, I mean, it's cheap on itself, but to produce it's expensive actually. I mean, that's why it's often produced within exhibition context. So I prefer to spend money for a book or publication than framing a picture or something. Yeah.
Okay. Now, before we turn to the audience for questions, is there anybody who likes to ask a question to anybody here in front? It's the moment now. Not really? Okay, good. Then we can have a look in the room. Who wants to ask a question? The floor is yours. It's a difficult moment, I do know that, to break the ice, but yeah. Samuel, there's a microphone coming your way.
Thank you. It's always nice to look at books, and it's always nice to have books. But of course, where do they end up? I was very curious to you, Sophie, as when you make all these books, do you have a conscious strategy, is probably too big a word, but an idea or a wish or a hope where they end up? Or do you actively look to place them also? You speak of a very generous distribution system for your books, where they're very accessible and very democratically available. But still you could maybe, I'm curious if that's something you think of. Where do they end up besides the first encounters that people have in exhibitions, etc.? Do you also look for them to enter in museum libraries, archives, etc.? Is that something you actively look for?
Well, it's a good question, but I think it stays a niche object, and people who are taking it. I often had situation where my work was a publication, and you, as a visitor, you can just take it, and then you take it when you like it, I suppose. I also was already thinking of the slechte. It's this, how do you call it? It's yeah, it has a specific word.
Ramsch.
Yeah, yeah.
Ramsch and
yeah.
Okay.
But I think it can also be interesting to end up there, because I was the one who being happy to find maybe books I liked for a very economical, democratic price. So actually, what I really like is that those books will live longer than me, and it's the same with art in general. Although art you don't really use, and books you consult maybe. So I don't have a strategy. No, it's always the last book I send it off to the printer on a train to open, and with my phone internet connection, and I think it's always horrible, because printing is also a bit of self-torture, because when there is a mistake, it's there forever, and reprint, there is most often no budget for it. So it's something that makes me always a bit nervous, but yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, any other question or suggestion or feedback loop? Yeah, Hille?
Yeah, thank you so much for the 3 interesting talks from all the different perspectives. And yeah, I also liked Samuel's question, and maybe a small question again was, how does it feel, Sophie, that your books are being collected then by museums, trying to preserve them for 100 years, or libraries? So that's also, yeah, a question to you. And then I have a question for Evi as well.
But I think it's a bit embarrassing, not for me, because I don't care so much, but I'm pretty sure the museums in Belgium, they are not so busy with collecting my books. Yeah.
Well, you could make a mistake there.
I would be surprised, yeah. I would be surprised.
Yeah.
Because I'm the source often, and but I mean, it's never too late, but yeah.
Evi talked about that also, collecting books for institutions to keep them forever. And as a strategy, you mentioned that you choose these artists that you are working with for exhibitions or others, but then also Sarah asked herself, and I was thinking the same thing, is there also a relation with your collaborations for the archive? preservation or the function you have as the Flemish Expertise Center for Archiving? Or do you make other choices, more international or?
Yeah, there's no immediate connection. The Center for Art Archives started like in 2017, but from this more ensemble thinking approach. So it's more another connection that we make. It's like when we do an exhibition, we focus on the research. We try to have an overview of all or the whole artistic practice, and in that sense we also come to the archive of an artist. So the connection is a bit different. The Center for Art Archives focuses on Flemish contemporary art, also on critics and their archive on Flemish artists and the texts that they have written. So in a way, it comes together more in a digital way, I would say. It comes together in our database, ensembles. But there's no real strategy. It's the way we work in M HKA, I think, which is more in the gathering, the collecting, and to go as wide as possible.
Yeah, thanks. And then Johan, we loved your idea of nests, building nests in clusters. And we loved your approach of building nests around certain works.
When you can afford or acquire, you can afford or acquire. You have to make something, and then you have the work here. Everything starts here for me. An artwork is for me a cluster of meanings, but it starts always here in the head.
Can I ask you something? Does that also make you an interesting reference for people who are doing research?
Of course,
because I can imagine that you are becoming.
Of course, there are. Well, I had. Yeah, I had Nico. There is another PhD student in Belgium. Is hem hier? Oh, maar kijk eens. A PhD student who makes his PhD on the films, the movies of Broodart as a filmmaker or movie maker. When they know me, I like to invite them. We have an eat. We have a meal together, and then we look at the books. I had also, as I told already, two PhD students, one from Berlin and one from Vienna. The student from Vienna is a professor now, and she writes me. She sends a mail when she needs something, and when I have it, I make a copy and I send it to her. That's my way of disclose it, but first you have to gather, and then you can disclose.
Your institutional research department in one person. It's impressive.
Yeah, research department.
But yes, but research. I can I tell it here in 1 hour, but it took years and years and years of searching, computer, eBay, everywhere, in Ramsch, all the book antiquarians in Paris, I know, in Cologne, etc. Yeah. Oh yeah, auctions. There are some auction houses in Belgium that have regularly publications of Broodart, even publications that are not known. I found some things rough. Has seen them. De annuaire van de Belgische film. Voilà. Yeah. You have to look around a lot to find something.
Every collector is a researcher in a way. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Can I follow-up question? Sophie mentioned it already. Books will outlive us all. Not to be morbid, but what happens to the collection when it's no longer your collection, perhaps? What's the future of the collection? Yes.
Oh, my children say when you are dead, we bring all those things to the ranch or to an auction house. Voilà. Après nous le déluge. So no, when there were an interest of I don't know, a museum, we can always talk, but as long as I live, it stays.
Hi, I am Griet. I also make books, and I experience a high level of nerdiness when I listen to these talks. And when I make books, I always feel in control somehow. That's maybe something that you feel related to or not. Because when I hear you talk, for instance, I really see that you like to, you have a kind of limited space and you can totally control it somehow. Do you relate to that feeling? I think I have that more with books than with an artwork that I put on the wall, because it's more out there and the book is very intimate, so you can kind of dictate it more.
I think I have the opposite experience, maybe. Yeah. I mean, if the main question, if I understood well, if it's about control and enjoying the...
Well, that it is a limited space and that you can really make very clear parameters and yeah.
Yeah, I think I also approach it as a space and try to find easy solutions to say what you want to say or communicate.
It's not maybe a real question, but it's just something I...
But the handy thing is that I make all my books myself, because I can work with this InDesign program. But once I allowed it, like Julie Peters, to, I mean, I invited, like, let's do it a bit together, and then I'm not, then I'm comfortable doing it alone, and then it's out of my comfort zone to work together. I did it once, and it was a failure. Interesting failure, but so yeah, it's delicate. I think you have to find the right person to sit next to you in front of the screen. Yeah. So I guess yes. Yeah.
Okay. Time for a final question, if there is any. Not really. Then yeah, there's a final question. Yeah. Did you encounter any fake Marcel Broodhaars? Publications, you mean?
Publications, no. Of course, no publications in magazines and so on. But I think I saw once a false that was at Sotheby's in Amsterdam, and there was the two prints of exchange, poem exchange, two large prints with MB. And I saw it there, and I thought, I took a close look, and I thought it was from very thin paper. The real prints are on thicker paper, and I told it to the one yeah, someone from the auction house that was there, and it wasn't on auction the day the auction started. So, but that was doubtful, yes.
The good thing about collecting publications and books is that they're always never being falsified, because it's not interesting to fake a book. It's interesting to fake a painting, you know, but not a book. That's why books are safe to collect, quite safe. There are exceptions, but still.
In 19th century, it was otherwise. Baudelaire, he was published in Brussels, but it was not the real edition.
Like the illegal versions and so on. Yeah, yeah. Okay, then before we say thank you to the guests, I would like Nico to announce our next session with Irma Bo. And which will take place in the Wintertuin, probably at the ground floor. We'll see, here or in the Wintertuin at the ground floor, depending a bit on the people we expect to show up. Okay, thank you very much, Sophie, Evi, and Johan, and thank you for being here. See you next time. Bye-bye.